Hello, I'm Billy, and this is the Unlock Your Child's Full Potential podcast, where we discuss how to give our children a head start in life and teach them some basic principles of success that will serve them well in adult life. This podcast is about the lessons that are often not taught in school, and it's up to us as parents to shine the light and coach our kiddos. Things like building their confidence, developing integrity, and a strong work ethic, shaping a worldview. It will also be about cultivating emotional intelligence skills, money mindset, personal growth habits, to name a few. I'm a mom of 3 young girls, and my mission is to raise them to be good humans, happy and fulfilled adults. Join me on my quest to learn more ways to parent with intent and raise thriving kids. I'm here to create a space where you feel supported and inspired to bring these lessons into your home and try them out. Let's dive in. Hi everyone, welcome to today's conversation with Cheryl Pankhurst. Cheryl is a special education specialist, and for the last 25 years, her mission has been to support teenagers with any type of disability or social-emotional challenge and help them navigate the often tricky path, starting in grade 9 all the way to post-secondary opportunities. Cheryl's mantra is, kids do well when they can. And she goes out of her way to find out what's hard for the children that don't do well and that can't meet expectations. Usually, there are these little things that need to be tweaked, and most of the problems fall away. In this interview, we talk about the difference between the public and the private school systems, about how the pandemic impacted kids' social development. We discuss how teachers and parents can collaborate to lessen the stress for students and help them engage more. My biggest takeaway from this conversation is that one of the greatest gifts we can give our children is to let them fail. In Cheryl's opinion, the most important skill kids need to learn is how to fail and how to come back from it. They need to realize that they're strong enough to figure it out, and they should always know that we've got their back. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. It's full of great advice. Whether you're a special education student, a parent, or teacher, or just someone navigating the twists and turns of life, Cheryl's got your back. Hi, Cheryl. Welcome to Unlock Your Child's Full Potential podcast. I'm so happy to talk to you about the lessons we need to teach our kids and hear your perspective as an educator in the public school system.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Please tell us a bit about yourself so we get to know you a little better.
Sure. So I have been in the special education system for over 25 years. And I was the supervisor for a very large department for about 20 years. And I have my special education specialist. So a lot of knowledge around different disabilities that kids come to school with, and from mild learning disabilities right up to nonverbal autism and everything in between. And also working with kids one-on-one, especially now that our COVID has passed, hopefully, but working with kids who have really lost those 2 years, those really significant years of social and academic skills. So I work quite closely one-on-one with kids here as well.
How were they influenced by these 2 years of COVID?
Well, if you can imagine that their social development is completely stagnant. So those 2 years of kids from grade 7 to 9, or if you imagine your first year of high school, the nervousness around attending a new high school and thinking this is your future, and now you're stuck in a room with a computer screen, and you just don't have that connection. And what do we need more than anything in the world? Kids, adults, the same, is connection. So they've lost that connection. And then, they're teenagers. They're stuck at home with their parents all day. This can't be fun.
I can't imagine, yeah.
No, I can't. And my kids are older. My kids are now 33 and 30. And I honestly could not imagine trying to teach kids on screen and having my own kids at home, trying to learn on screen, and having a husband or a partner. I just could not imagine. And I remember when I was teaching high school and my kids were in high school, different high school, and they would just not even understand what I did for a living. Like, can I help you with your homework? No, you don't know. Well, can I help you? No. So it's that I feel really badly for parents who get offended that their kids don't believe they know anything and don't want their help, but they'll go to somebody else. But it's just the natural way of life for a teenager. It's not offensive to the parent. It's just the way it is. And I've got lots of stories with my kids who didn't realize that I was actually in the same school system they were in.
Well,
I think they think we're born 40.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
My kids are younger now and they think that I know everything. So it's on the other side.
That's a good thing. Hold on to that because it won't last.
But they were very happy to be at home with me during COVID.
Okay. Yeah.
It was just hard for me during that time, but I think it was good just to be as a family.
Well, and when you're, the younger age kids were afraid of what was happening out there. So what better place to be than with mom or dad or whoever's looking after them. Yeah. But as they get older and they want that independence and they're not afraid of anything, then that's where they want to be in high school. That's where they're missing their connections. So I feel like our high school kids, and then they come back and all you hear is resilience, resilience, resilience. And honestly, to me, resilience is starting to be a 4-letter word. I don't know what that means. Bounce back to normal. What does that mean for kids who have never gone through this? Like, what does normal look like? And I think there's a lot of pressure for a kid to feel like they have to just bounce back. Everything's back to normal. And they don't really know what that is. And it puts a lot of pressure and expectation on a teenager, alongside with everything else they have to deal with.
Yeah, tough years.
Yeah.
The school you're an educator at, the Durham District School Board in Toronto, it says it's committed to maintaining a positive environment. What does this mean and how do they achieve this?
Okay, so I have since moved. I was with the Durham District School Board. This is the large school that I was at for 20 plus years. And it was a public school system. There was 2,000 students and I had 400 students that were deemed special needs, some very mild, high functioning. Mm-hmm. So during COVID, I now moved into a private school system. So I moved out of the town I'd lived in for 25 years and moved into the private school system. So there's 300 kids complete in this whole building. So I'm really getting a feel for the difference. The difference here, so the larger school system logistically have a board of education that you report to. So there's one specific board and every school, elementary or secondary, would report to this board of people who are up in the attic who don't really have a whole lot to do, in my opinion, with what happens on the ground. So when I moved out of that, I was struggling with the pressures they were putting on to teachers and to educational assistants. There was no money, there was no support. It's a very political system and a lot of red tape. And I was really getting discouraged with the fact that I didn't feel like, in my opinion, the kids were first anymore. And when I moved to the private school system, the difference is, number one, the teachers are not in a union here. So I'm part of a union because I came from a union. But this very small school is a faith-based school. Mm-hmm. And the teachers, I would say 70% of the teachers here came here as a student, and their parents came here, and their parents came here. And it's a farming town, so it's very different in relational. It's a very relational school. I can ask questions. I can have conversations with teachers about students, and it's all very collaborative. I find it there's one board and they're in the building, which means the board sees what's happening with the students because the board is the administration or parents. So it's been very, very different.
Can you speak about the influence teachers have on their students? How do you proceed to mentor a whole group of kids in a formal environment? Do you build a closer relationship with each of them or just stand as an outside authority?
Oh, no, I think you have to have a relationship. And I feel like, especially with the teenagers, like this is what I love about working with high school kids. And if you can meet every student where they're at and understand that Kids don't manipulate. They don't want to push your buttons. Kids do well when they can. People do well when they can. If you see some type of behavior, that's just a communication to say, I can't meet your expectation. I know I can't meet your expectation, and I don't know how to tell you that. So I'm going to throw a book across the room, or I'm going to walk out the door and slam the door, or I'm going to not do my homework, or I'm going to, whatever it is. But that's the foundation on how I operate is teachers, parents, kids all do well when they can. And if there's something happening there, they're just not able to meet an expectation. And so we need to work together to figure out what expectation is really being hard for you and how can we accommodate that or change that or meet you there? Or is it an expectation I need? If I'm in a kid in school and a kid is sitting in the chair and they're wiggling and wobbling and making noise, and is my expectation that they have to sit there? They can't. ADHD, whatever, they can't. So is it absolutely necessary to me that that kid sits there? Nope. That kid can walk around the back of the room. They can be on a yoga ball. They can have a fidget toy. They're still hearing me. They're still meeting my expectation of the lesson. Okay. And I'm meeting them where they're at. I'm not expecting them to do something they can't, because now they can't learn, because now they can't meet the expectation.
Wow, that's brilliant. But I'm not sure that most schools operate this way.
No. They absolutely don't. And I'm slowly trying to turn the page. If we want kids to engage and not just be talked at, we want kids to engage and we want them to learn how to think for themselves. And we want them to learn that people have their backs. People will help if they ask. But if we're talking at them and we're making them meet these expectations that they can't meet, there's no back and forth. There's no collaboration. So if you do your problem solving collaboratively, you find out most of the time it's so small of an adjustment, you wouldn't believe it. It's such a small little thing that they're finding hard that you can fix, you can tweak, you can make, and most of the problems fall away. And if you're really digging and you have to start with empathy. You can't go anywhere unless you can empathize with somebody that you're talking to who's finding something hard. And if they don't feel the empathy, there's no collaboration. So it's all relational, it's all conversation. And once they understand that you're there, that you have their back, that is it. You're never in trouble when you're with me. I have your back. Let's talk about this. And it works every single time.
I've seen that in my relationship with my kids. They have to be sure that they won't get in trouble when they say something. What about the teacher-parent relationship? How can both parties work together as a team when it comes to raising good humans?
Communication. And I know a lot of parents, and I'm talking about the high school now because that's my jam. But I find a lot of parents say, oh, I don't want to bother the teacher. Oh, it's up to them to figure it out. But you know what? Collaboration and communication and data is the only way you're going to figure something out. If they're struggling with something at home, you can talk to the teachers. If the teachers are finding something to struggle, you talk to the parents. I think that's the main thing we can talk about is you need to communicate. And it could be just a little note, a quick text, an email, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a big meeting. But if my son wakes up in the morning and he's had a huge fight with his brother and breakfast was cold and he's got all these things lined up, and then he walks into his first period and the teacher says, oh, you didn't do well on this. And that's it. He's done because he's got all of this stuff behind him. So as a parent, listen, David had a really bad morning. Go easy, heads up, whatever. How different would David's day be if the teacher said, oh, I heard you had a really rough morning? First of all, kid figures out, oh, they're talking.
Yeah.
Right? And now he feels heard. Now he feels like my mom or parent has respected me enough to say, oh man, he just go easy. He's had a really rough morning. And his whole day would be different. His whole day from one little conversation. And an empathetic teacher who's going to say, I'm going to meet you where you at right now. I know what happened. I know what that's like. I know it was hard getting here today, but thanks for coming. You got here. Some kids just don't make it in.
Wow. That would be a wonderful way to communicate.
And easy. right? It's all relationship. And you
So,
can only do your best, right? Like you can only try.
yeah,
It'll never be perfect.
that's why I'm looking for the ways that parents can fill the gaps where schools cannot handle all the child development.
Yeah. And this goes home too. I mean, these conversations about empathy and meeting kids where they're at comes from home too. It's not just a school thing. You know, if a kid comes home from school and they're slamming doors and they're, not talking and they can't communicate, I would think the first thing a parent would want to try is, what's hard about your day today? And then isolate it. Well, how did math go? Well, how did English go? Well, how did lunch go? And dig and dig and dig. And when you get to the source, you'll figure it out. But most kids come home and the parents say, how was your day? And they say, fine. What'd you do? Nothing. Okay. And then that's it.
Yeah.
But if we start digging but not digging like prying, digging like having a conversation. If a teacher phoned home and said, Johnny threw his book across the room, now's the time to say, what was hard about math? What was hard about not throwing your book across the room? What was hard about keeping your book on your desk? Well, I couldn't find the page. Well, what was hard about looking for the page? Well, I went to the washroom and the teacher gave us the lesson and then she started teaching and I don't know what page I'm on. Oh, okay. Now, how easy would that be to say, here we go, page 20.
Yeah.
But you just got to keep asking and you got to keep empathizing and can never be power over. If you're power with, not power over, then kids know that they're not in trouble and that you got their back. And when we start this in grade 9, we press and we press and we press kids to understand what this is. And we keep talking and we keep digging. And by grade 11, they're in my office. Hey, Cheryl, I have a problem with this. This teacher didn't give this. Oh, okay, no problem. Let's work on it. So they know, they come to me now because they know they got someone here who's going to help them and who's got their back and who's not going to give them crap. And we're just going to work it out together. How great is it growing up, even when you're 90, to feel like somebody's got my back? I know how to ask for help.
Yeah, they should learn how to ask for help. That's not easy.
It's not, especially if you've done it a few times and the response wasn't what you were hoping for.
Yeah.
I asked for help with this. Well, you should have been listening the first time. You missed the instruction because you should have been listening. I'm not coming back to ask you for help.
Yeah. In your opinion, what are some traits and skills that kids these days need to have in order to succeed in life?
They need to learn how to fail. They need to learn how to fix it. They need to know that they have support, but we're going to build their skills to fail. Don't do their homework for them. Don't pick their teacher for them. Don't tell their friends what to say. Let them fail. And when they fail, they'll realize that they were strong enough to figure it out and come back and do it again and do it again, because there's so many kids. We have what we call helicopter parents. They're always hovering and, always fixing things and always like manipulating the system to make sure the kid gets into this team and gets on this team. And then when they lose their first job, they're devastated. They're done. They have zero skills to figure that out. So we have to allow our kids to be human beings. They can fail. We can support. We can build them back up again, but they have to know how to fail. They know how to succeed and they have to know how to fail.
This is so important. Thank you for mentioning it. I, as a grown-up, have fear of failure so deep inside me. I'm trying to overcome it. So if I could teach my kid early on to be okay with failing, that would be awesome.
And okay, we start with, what did you learn? What did you learn from this? I learned that I can't be late every day for math or I'm going to miss all the instruction and I'm probably going to fail the course. So what did we learn? And that would come back to what was hard. I'm going to use math as an example. What was hard about getting to math on time? It could be anything. So you're digging deep, you're going backwards, kind of swimming upstream, as they say, to find what's going on. But we really need to just let them fail. It's such a gift.
I'm not sure that the school system encourages that.
No, and elementary doesn't, for sure. So our up to grade 8 schools, they're not allowed to fail. But grade 9 to 12, they have the opportunity to fail. And this is where there's a big disconnect. I understand in the elementary grades that kids are more graduating with their ages as opposed to their abilities. But then when they get to grade 9, now it's a business. Now I need the marks, and the marks add up to the credit. And if you don't have the data to give me the credit, I can't make it up. And there's a lot of parents who would fight tooth and nail to make you give them that credit. Why? What's next? If I don't have the skills for grade 9 math, why are you going to push me into grade 10 math? Because then there's grade 11 math. So you're just knocking those domino.
Yeah, so true.
It's hard. It's not easy to watch our kids fail. We all know that. We can't, it's so hard to watch them get their heart broken or their friends not talk to them anymore. It's wrenching to a parent. I understand that for sure. But it is a gift to give the kids to understand that, yeah, this was horrible, terrible. But look what you did. You picked yourself up, you dusted yourself off, and you moved forward. And you got a whole team behind you who are there to support you.
That's incredible. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
So your kids are grown up, seeing how they have developed. What do you think you did right? And what do you wish you had done better?
That's a really good question. I think what I did right is I made sure they knew that no matter what, they could come to me. If they had that drinking party when they were 16 and needed a ride, there was always that unconditional, yeah, we got this. There would be a conversation later, but they could always call me when they were in trouble. So I never worried that they would be too scared to come home. And I taught them that you could change your mind, you can change your friends, you can listen to your gut. Just do you. You have to do you. So when I started out of high school, I was a hairdresser, and then I had a restaurant, and then I went, when I was 30, I went back to university to become a teacher. And my kids were very little, and they saw me do this, and they saw me graduate. And it isn't until 20 years later that they say, oh, I remember when you went to school. Why can't I go back to school? My daughter's 30. She just applied for university again. You know what she said? I remember you did it and you had 2 kids. Why can't I do it? And I think I instilled a really good sense of family. They're very close to all of their family, and I'm divorced. And I think what I would have done better is when we divorced, I would have got them counseling immediately. So they never had to go through a transition. I think I would have right away, even if I thought they were okay, I would have given them someone to talk to where they didn't feel like they were being disloyal to me or disloyal to their dad, that they just had an open. I would absolutely have done that.
In what situations do you think counseling is good for parents?
Because I feel like it's an unbiased. If they try to talk to a family member, they have to be worried. Oh, they might tell my mom, or they might tell my dad, or kids have this really great sense of loyalty. So when you separate, I know my son had this sense of loyalty I was super close to my son, but he had this loyalty to his dad. I'm a boy and I'm a dad. And so he was very angry with me for a little while, which was just bizarre to me until I figured it out later. So I just find that it gives them a completely honest version of themselves to talk with and talk out and get a different perspective, maybe get some skills from them on how to work with your parents or how to work with your siblings. But I think counseling is just so underrated. I think I would say to any parent, if you're splitting up, it doesn't matter how, and my ex and I, we had a very good, if there is one, we had a good divorce. never said anything negative about each other ever. And that's something I would push for anyone. Just never say anything bad about your ex in front of your kids. But I just feel like that's what counseling does. It gives you something. They don't have any bias. They don't have any motive or rationale because it isn't somebody that they know. And it really gives them an honest, open arena to have a conversation with somebody, which I think is really important for kids and adults.
Sure. If you feel something is wrong with your communication with the kid, just get him a counsel.
Yeah. 100%.
Anything else you would like to add?
I guess just to say, if you want to have a relationship with your kid, then you need to start with get rid of the authority figure. Yes, you have the power, you're the parent. But if you want to have a relationship, like a forever relationship with a kid, then it's power with. Use what you have as a strengthening tool with your kids, and really start with empathy. What's hard about this? What's hard about this is your best question ever. And listen, really listen, and repeat back so they know that you're listening. Oh, that must have been really hard. That must have been a terrible feeling. That must have been really feel. And these are skills that you will always have a relationship with your kids. And you want them to put you in a nice nursing home. So you want a good relationship when they get over there. But I think that's just where to start. Always know that people in this situation, kids, but people in general, do well when they can. So if there's something that is not going well, it's not because they won't. It's not because they're seeking attention or manipulating you or pushing your buttons. None of that. I don't believe in any of that. I believe that there's a barrier there that needs to be talked about and broken down. And I don't think it has anything to do with a won't. It's always a can't.
Yeah. I do believe in all of this. I just struggle with disrespect sometimes. My oldest one saying, I hate you, you're so bad. It hurts my feelings.
Well, my daughter, same thing years ago, but I would then start off with, what's hard about having a conversation with me? And it might be, well, you're always telling me what to do. You're always telling me to clean my room. Sound familiar?
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
Okay. So what's hard about keeping your room clean? Well, I have this and that, and it's my room. Okay. It is her room. So is there somewhere there where you might say, you know what? Maybe I don't need this expectation. Maybe I don't need her to make her bed every day at 8:00 in the morning. Maybe if she made her bed once a week with clean sheets on a Saturday, maybe that's something you can work with her.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because her getting angry with you is not, obviously she doesn't hate you. If there's something there that's hard and she's not meeting an expectation and she knows it. So it could be that, she's got a responsibility at home on a certain day and it's hard for her to meet that responsibility. And so it's coming out over here. So if you can think hard about what you're expecting her to do, is there things there that you might go, you know what? Maybe it's hard for you to make your bed at 6:00 in the morning. You know what? Let's not do that. Would it be easier for you, or what would be easier for you if you made your bed at 3, if you made your bed at 6, if you made your bed just on Saturdays? What would be easier for you? So what hill do you want to die on, Mom? That the bed's made every day, or that you made her life a little bit easier and took some stress off? And now you've got a conversation.
Oh yeah, the second one. I also think that she's a strong-willed kid that doesn't like to be told what to do. Yeah.
That's what we want. That's what we want. Never kill that.
Yeah.
Never kill that. Praise that every time you can. Yeah, you want a strong woman in your house.
For sure. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us. It was such a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you and chat with you too.
Would you like to share about your podcast and where we can find you if people want to learn more from you?
Well, it's in development, but it's Extraordinary Lessons, Ordinary Life, and it comes into lessons about exactly like this, from school, from kids, from home, from family, from everyday events. And so the website is going to be extraordinarylessons.com. The podcast will be everywhere, Extraordinary Lessons, Ordinary Life. to be determined, hopefully within a month or two.
That was a great conversation. Here are the takeaways. Number 1, kids don't manipulate. They don't want to push your buttons. They do well when they can. When you see some type of misbehavior, it's just a way for them to communicate to you that they can't meet your expectations and they don't know how to tell you that. Start with empathy. Ask them what's hard. Problem solve together. Tweak things a little and most of the problems will fall away. Number 2, show your kids that you've got their back. Make sure they know that no matter what, they can come to you and they won't be in trouble. There will be a conversation later, but they should never be too scared to come home. Number 3, children need to learn how to fail. They know how to succeed and they have to know how to fail. When they fail, they realize that they're strong enough to figure it out and come back and do it again. It's not easy for parents to watch without intervening, but it's a gift for the kids to let them fail and then build them up. Just say, this was horrible, but look what you did. You picked yourself up and you moved forward, and you've got a whole team behind you who are here to support you. Thank you so much for listening and letting me be a part of your day. If you enjoyed this episode or the show in general, please share it with a friend and help me reach more moms around the world. I would also appreciate it if you consider leaving me a review. Reviews are literally the lifeblood of a podcaster and help me so much. Don't forget to subscribe so you get notified when a new episode drops. See you next week.